In 1951, the Indian Act was amended, which changed the lot for the Aboriginal population of Canada. The amendment stated under Section 52, the Minister may administer or provide for the administration of any property to which infant children of Indians are entitled, and may appoint guardians for that purpose. Therefore, the Minister is allowed to control all property of children of Indians, as parents do, as well as appoint new parents to take over. The children that were apprehended were usually placed in non-native foster homes, where their culture was hidden and often frowned upon in the household. Under Article 2E of the UN Convention on Genocide 1948, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group constitutes genocide when the intent is to destroy the culture. In 1951, the same year as the amendment, 29 Aboriginal children were in provincial care in British Columbia. By 1964, that number was 1,466, and the percentage of Aboriginal children in care soared from only 1% to over 34%. In the 1960s, the child welfare system did not require, nor did it expect, social workers to have specific training in dealing with children in Aboriginal communities. Many of these social workers were completely unfamiliar with the culture and history of the Aboriginal communities they entered. What they believed constituted proper care was generally based on middle-class Euro-Canadian values. For example, when social workers entered the homes of families subsisting on a traditional Aboriginal diet of dried game, fish, and berries, and didn't see fridges or cupboards stocked in typical Euro-Canadian fashion, they assumed that the adults in the home were not providing for their children. Additionally, upon seeing the social problems reserved communities faced, such as poverty, unemployment, and addiction, some social workers felt a duty to protect the local children. In many cases, Aboriginal parents who were living in poverty but otherwise providing caring homes had their children taken from them with little or no warning and absolutely no consent. An alarmingly disproportionate number of Aboriginal children were apprehended. By the 1970s, roughly one-third of all children in care were Aboriginal. Approximately 70% of the children apprehended were placed into non-Aboriginal homes, many of them homes in which their heritage was denied. In some cases, the foster or adoptive parents told their children that they were French or Italian instead. Government policy at the time did not allow birth records to be opened unless both the child and parents consented. This meant that many children suspected their heritage but were unable to have it confirmed. The homes in which the children were placed ranged from those of caring, well-intentioned individuals to places of slave labor and physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. The violent effects of the most negative of these homes are tragic for its victims. Caucasian westernized foster parents are not culturally equipped to create an environment in which a positive Aboriginal self-image can develop. In many cases, the children are taught to demean those things about themselves that are Aboriginal. Many adopted and fostered children experienced a loss of their cultural identity, loss of country, loss of sense of family, and often loss of ability to parent. Many also experienced anxiety, depression, emotional trauma, psychological trauma, personality change, loss of confidence, decreased social ability, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Even the best of the homes weren't healthy places for Aboriginal children. Statistics from Department of Indian Affairs reveal a total of 11,132 status Indian children adopted between the years of 1960 and 1990. It is believed, however, that the actual numbers are much higher than that. Indian Affairs recorded adoptions of status Native children. Many Native children were not recorded as status in adoption or foster care records. Of these children who were adopted, 70% were adopted into non-Native homes. In the 1980s, the accumulation of the Kimmelman Report, the Johnston Report, and the resolutions by First Nations bands led provinces to amend their adoption laws to prioritize prospective adoption placements as follows. First, within the extended family of the child. Second, by another Aboriginal family. And third, by a non-Aboriginal family. In 1990, Indian and Northern Affairs Canada created the First Nations Child and Family Services Program, which transferred administration of child and family services from the province or territory to the local band. Bands have increasingly taken control over their own child protection services. These services have also undergone some reform, such as expanding resources for single parents and establishing juvenile probation services. A Métis Child Family Services program based in Edmonton is another example of an organization which incorporates traditional values into its adoptive family assessments. In many provinces and territories across Canada, a child is now entitled to know its background, and cultural appropriateness is considered in the assessment and screening of potential caregivers. To date, there are a lot of adult adoptees searching for families and families searching for adoptees. As a result, several First Nation Aboriginal reunification programs have sprouted up in Canada. Today, there is much more public awareness about residential schools than the Sixties Scoop, which remains unknown to most Canadians. It remains largely unacknowledged that the two eras of residential school and the Sixties Scoop mirrored each other in terms of dislocating Aboriginal children from their family and communities.